Our next speaker is definitely known by everybody in this room. She has picked up the phone a couple times, probably in the last few months, to get you here. She is an unstoppable force, a remarkable woman, an inspiration to all of us, and happens to be a very good friend. She is one of our city's most unstoppable forces for positive change. PTV's executive director, that's right, I'm talking about Julie Gutman. Julie Gutman's career has spanned the worlds of so many things. For those of us that are Jewish in the room, we say around Passover, if you just did one thing, that would have been enough, dayenu. Well, she worked in immigrant rights, and she could have stopped there. Dayenu, that would have been enough. But then she worked in tenant rights, and that in itself, dayenu, would have been enough. But she continued, working on workers' rights. Dayenu, that would have been enough, and now human rights. A woman who has accomplished so much in her young years. For her, you see, all of these issues are not separate. They interconnect. They are one and the same, grounded in the common principle of the value of human dignity. It is her fierce devotion to this value, not just her brilliance, that explains why she never lost a trial in her legal career. I know we've got some lawyers in here that want to challenge you now, but it's an incredible statistic. Because if you know Julie, you know that she has a rare blend of charisma and intelligence and passion and commitment. And when I worked closely with her during her tenure as a city commissioner and a senior labor advisor to Mayor Villaraigosa, I can tell you firsthand that her ability to craft compromise, to craft something that brought parties together and that was beneficial to all parties, business, labor, and the community, is unparalleled. In her 2 years at the helm of PTV, she has used her one-of-a-kind energy, passion, and vision to bring much-needed resources and visibility to the cause of rebuilding the lives of torture survivors. So please, join me in thanking and welcoming to the stage our hero, the one and only PTV Executive Director, Julie Gutman.
Thank you, Eric, for being a wonderful MC and for all you've done and continue to do in the fight for human dignity. I want to thank each and every one of you in this room for being here with us tonight and supporting PTV. It's your generosity that enables us to sustain and expand PTV's life-saving work. I also want to thank our tireless volunteers, our distinguished honorary committee, and tonight's honorary committee co-chairs, Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, City Controller Wendy Gruhl, author Isabel Allende, Judge Bruce Einhorn, Labor Leader Maria Elena Durazo, Business Leader Gary Tobin, and the courageous torture survivor Leontine Lanza. I want to give a special thanks to our board of directors who have spent countless hours on behalf of PTV, and also to PTV's exceptional staff who every day make the extraordinary commitment to help rebuild the lives of torture survivors. I'd like the board and staff of PTV to please stand. Finally, we owe an enormous debt of gratitude to PTV's co-founders, Anna Deutsch and Dr. Jose Quiroga, who since 1980 have been rebuilding the lives of torture survivors from around the globe. Please stand, Dr. Quiroga and Anna. Thank you. Thank you for all you've done. Think globally, act locally. That was the slogan of a popular bumper sticker from the 1990s, one that was easily dismissed by many as the naive idealism of those who describe themselves as world citizens. But as a director of a Los Angeles-based human rights organization, established to confront the worldwide plague of torture, I believe strongly in a powerful, effective local response to global issues. Indeed, at PTV, we know that one of the most profound contributions we can make to the global cause of human dignity is to help rebuild the lives of survivors right here in our midst. The need for a grassroots movement against torture here in LA and across the nation has never been clearer. In just the last few months, there have been two very disturbing legal decisions. First, the US Supreme Court ruling barring the use of the Torture Victim Protection Act to bring lawsuits against corporations or other entities accused of torture. And also an appeals court ruling essentially exonerating the US government for torturing 9/11 detainee Jose Padilla. We've also recently witnessed the widely publicized book, very disturbing, a former CIA official, Jose Rodriguez, inaccurately pointing to the use of torture as the critical tool in the capture of Osama bin Laden. We cannot stand by idly while any person or institution perpetuates the idea that torture may be acceptable and that those who commit it need not be held accountable for their actions. And I would argue that there is no better place than Los Angeles to be part of the global fight against torture and human rights abuses. But why Los Angeles? What makes LA especially important in rebuilding the lives of torture survivors and working towards a world without torture? Why LA? Consider this. For the past decade, Los Angeles has been home to the greater Los Angeles area, I should say, has been home to the largest population of refugees, asylum seekers, and torture survivors in the country. 2/3 of California's estimated 100,000 torture survivors live in our own region, arriving here from over 65 different countries. Why would the entertainment capital of the world also be a sanctuary for the persecuted? Certainly part of the explanation is rooted in the civil wars and political upheavals of the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the immense dislocations of impoverished people leaving the volatile global south, and the city's large existing population of immigrants from all corners of the world. But I believe there's another reason why those seeking to rebuild their lives come to Los Angeles. It's because LA, perhaps more than any other place in the world, is a place where those who have lost all hope, have lost everything, can start over and create a new life. Los Angeles is, in other words, the city of second chances, the Ellis Island of the West. Though linked in the public imagination to wealth, fame, self-indulgence, for decades, LA has truly been at the center of what I call the human dignity movement. The effort by people across the world to resist oppression of any kind and claim their most basic human rights. It's LA that gave birth to the rise of the modern-day gay rights movement in the 1950s and elected one of the nation's first black mayors in the 1970s. It's LA that has been the home to the country's most effective immigrant rights movement. And it's LA that's produced the country's boldest and most successful efforts at alleviating working poverty, lifting tens of thousands into the middle class and creating pathways out of gangs and into good middle class jobs. It is no surprise then that Los Angeles is ground zero for the nation's efforts to rebuild the lives of torture survivors. Indeed, when PTV was founded in Los Angeles in 1980, it was the first human rights organization of its kind in the country, and it remains the only organization in the greater LA area providing comprehensive services to torture survivors. From day one, our work has been inextricably linked to the city's deep commitment to the cause of human dignity, a connection embodied by our founders, both of whom fled their native lands, made a new home here in Los Angeles after experiencing such violence in another country, and then started an organization here dedicated to giving thousands of others a second chance. It was right here in LA that tonight's visionary honoree, Carlos Siderman, played a pivotal role in the landmark case Siderman de Blanc versus the Republic of Argentina, where for the first time a foreign nation was put on trial and held accountable in a court here in Los Angeles for human rights abuses committed on its own soil. It was also Los Angeles that another one of tonight's honorees, Julie Sue, won a far-reaching settlement on behalf of garment workers who had been imprisoned and abused. This laid the foundation for a global effort to address the egregious punishing conditions of workers in the garment industry. It was also here that Sister Diana Ortiz, tonight's human rights hero, first received an award for her courageous efforts to expose the truth about her abduction and torture. And it is here in LA that thousands of torture survivors, with the help of PTV, have slowly rebuilt their life. When survivors seek our services, the vast majority are severely impoverished, living in fear. PTV provides comprehensive and integrated services free of charge, virtually everything a survivor needs to start anew, from medical and psychological treatment to legal assistance through the asylum process, to help finding jobs and housing, to reuniting survivors with family members they were forced to leave behind. PTV provides all of this through a community of compassionate staff, volunteers, and partners. Our goal is to work with survivors to empower them to re-enter society, become contributing members of our community, and work with us towards a world without torture. In the past year, we have been able to increase our staff to reach more survivors whose lives have been destroyed by torture. But there are still so many other survivors who desperately need our services. With your support, we hope to have the resources to expand further and give hundreds more survivors a chance to rebuild their lives. Established by immigrants, devoted to justice, intent not just on awareness but action, PTV is a microcosm of Los Angeles itself, an organization striving to help survivors start over in a city that believes in new beginnings. Many courageous torture survivors are with us this evening, including an incredibly strong and inspiring woman named Bibiane, whose story embodies and reflects how Los Angeles truly is the city of second chances. A nurse in war-torn Congo, Bibiane was raped and tortured by the militia in front of her 6 children because of who she was, a gay woman helping people in need. Bibiane managed to escape to the United States, but was forced to leave everything behind, including her children. She arrived in Los Angeles with nothing. No home, no job, no money, no family, not speaking a word of English, but carrying with her only the deep psychological and emotional scars of torture and a will to survive. Referred to PTV by the Congolese community, Bibiane tells the story about how PTV literally saved her life, how she got the critical help she needed to repair her broken body, to recover from her deep psychological and emotional wounds, and ultimately to win asylum. Today, Bibiane has a good job, lives in a home here with her partner Marie, and has become a strong spokesperson demanding an end to violence for women in the Congo. Just last week, I had the privilege of celebrating with Bibiane as she was sworn in as a citizen of the United States, right here in the city of second chances. And PTV will not rest until Bibiane is united once again with her children. Please stand again, Vivian. We will always be standing with you, Bibian. Bibian and the thousands of torture survivors who PTV has helped are now, like PTV, part of the fabric of a great metropolis striving to embody its highest values. All of you here tonight are authors in that evolving narrative. Whether you're a doctor or a lawyer, a business owner or an employee, a labor activist or a human rights advocate, a religious leader or a philanthropist, an elected official or a torture survivor, you are part of a historic effort to create a more tolerant, more compassionate society rooted in the value of justice. In the months and years ahead, let's continue to make Los Angeles a bastion of human dignity, a city unafraid to challenge injustice and unrivaled in its embrace of all those seeking a second chance. Thank you.